skills developed, having them engaging with what we were sending out. And I have to say, I think we did quite a good job at that. And we did get engagement and we did get logins and we did get active users and that was fantastic. But if I look back to the last 12 months actually, so if I go back to this time in 2025, I think you were just joining, Charlotte, actually, and we were in a space where I think it would be fair to say, in any business right now, that every pound counts, and particularly when in a business like Yopa, where we are really gearing forward on performance, we as function heads have a responsibility to deliver, return on investment for every pound that we spend, and with that focus, particularly last year what I started to then think about was, well, actually, how do we really, really prove some return on investment from the Thrive platform? We tried something in 2025, and I'll come to that a little bit later, and we sort of started scratching the surface. And then I think in the last few months here in 2026, I really think we've found the operating model for success.
Lovely. I know that Thrive and Yopa have definitely developed together, and you can definitely see that in the kind of like evolution of how you use the platform. How about can we just talk a little bit more about your field agents in particular, what that audience looks like, and the challenges that we had with those in
Yeah,
particular?
yeah, sure. So our field agents, they work incredibly hard. They are business owners. They are self-employed. They work in a franchise model with Yopa, and we have around 200 of them out there at any given time, and they are all out building fantastic estate agency businesses in their community. But what does that mean? That means that they are very busy. They have a lot on their plate. They are time poor, and things change on a daily basis at Yopa. So they're always keeping up with any new changes, any new ways of working, and ultimately they're out there, working really hard to build a sustainable income for themselves.
Yeah, and at what point, I guess, so thinking about your field agents and they're so busy, they've got so much going on. At what point did it flip from are they logging in and are they accessing to how do we actually use Thrive to power engagement, and what drove that decision to make that change?
Well, I have to say, this was probably back about 12 months ago, and thinking about how, Yopa were working together with Thrive and sharing some of my challenges with the Thrive team to talk about, how do we help our agents engage in the best possible way. And, yourself and the various members of the Thrive team really worked hand in hand with us to look at, okay, well, what does the platform bring? And what can Yopa bring to really mesh those two together and drive performance? So, what user experience have we got? How do we get the app in everybody's pockets? How do we get really high quality content out there? How do we maximize Kiki and show her or it to be, that Kiki in your pocket and there and ready to help? So we work together to really think about the dynamics of our field agents and what could we best do for them. And we had some really great road shows, we had some really lovely events, and we launched what was called our Winning Ways. And Winning Ways, to be clear, is a successful program, and we are still getting engagement with Winning Ways at the moment. However, Winning Ways really, really played into, I think, what perhaps some people in the business would have described as vanity metrics. What I was able to do with Winning Ways was launch really high quality sales training content developed in partnership with our field agents, actually. But what I couldn't really tell was what difference was it making? Was it reaching the right people at the right time when they needed it? Um, you know, and and if it wasn't, then what could I do differently? So, as I say, winning ways, and I thought it was really important to share it on this webinar because I know other heads of L&D will go through the same journey where you can see lots of positivity in the programme, but where you still struggle is to say, how does this impact the bottom line? And you know, what does this do for sales performance? So that was one half of the coin on winning ways. And we took amazing learnings from winning ways, and we were able to inject those learnings into revenue enablement. And you will remember February, end of February, we got together, didn't we? I was fortunate enough to have a workshop with Charlotte, with other members of the Thrive team. We got the Learning Impact team involved, and we spent a day brainstorming how could we make Thrive the spine, and hopefully that's what this visual shows here. How could we make Thrive the spine of our program and build in all of the supporting activities? But most importantly, how could we really demonstrate that return on investment? And I think by the end of a one-day workshop, we definitely had the bones of what the revenue enablement program would come to be.
Yeah, and I remember so fondly both the workshop and the relaunch. So we had the relaunch where we got so much excitement all around Thrive, made sure that people had access to it on the day-to-day. And then we met 3 months later and we decided this is a time where we're really going to drill down and make sure that we have some really great performance metrics. And that was such a great face-to-face session that we had, and there was such a clear shift in mindset. So there we really focused on the program that you guys wanted to build out. So tell us a little bit about that program, what it looked like, who was involved, and essentially how you selected them. Because I know it was a really small cohort, wasn't it, Angela?
Yeah. So just going back a moment there with winning ways and the trying to get 200 people to engage and not really knowing if it made a difference. We definitely took learnings from that. And there was some real positivity from it. So injecting that into revenue enablement, what I recognised very quickly is that actually, if you want to demonstrate a measurable performance outcome, it's actually much easier to do it with a smaller cohort of people, because you have your smaller cohort that you can then benchmark and measure against the national cohort or the national picture. So that was the first part of the thinking, which was stop trying to make 200 people do something and then wonder why it, what difference it makes. It was like, let's make this manageable. Let's make this a pilot, because we're going to learn from it, and it won't be perfect first time. So what we were able to do was to look at, the participant in the middle, our agent that we wanted to apply learning, build new habits, but most importantly, not just improve their performance for Yopa's benefit, but improve their performance so they could earn more money. These are our self-employed agents. So what we were able to do was to think about an operating model that combined our sales leadership team and our learning and development team, because I think first and foremost that stakeholder engagement piece, that sharing the vision with our division directors, helping them get on the same journey with us, and having that shared accountability with the L&D team was critical and fundamental to the foundations of the program. So that's point one. Point two was, how did we actually select the people to come on the program with us? So we used the black and white data that said what businesses in our network have an opportunity to deliver more. So we looked at the black and white data, the quantitative, if you like, and then what we did was we worked with the division directors to overlay the one-to-one conversations over that black and white data, because let's face it, the numbers in isolation don't always give you the full picture. So looking at quantitative and qualitative performance indicators, we were able to mesh both of them together and select the right cohort of people. And this cohort of individuals, they were brilliant. They had the right mindset, they had the right willingness, they were, you know, excited to be selected for this program, because we only had 18 spaces and we have, you know, in the region of 200 agents. So only 18 spaces. It was seen as a uh, it was seen as a reward to be invited onto the program. Um, and that's because for the participants on the program, not only did they benefit from the learning, we were able to put things in place like specialist external training. We were able to give them access to digital tools that would normally have cost a fee to use, and we were able to give them those for free. We were able to give them credits to spend in their area. So for the people we brought onto the program, there was a real carrot mentality. There was a real reward to come onto the program. So there was a real willingness. And then we had the absolute spine of the program built within Thrive that tied the participants together, the content together, the pathways, the division director engagement, the agent engagement. And so we were able to measure all of that step by step by step throughout the way. At the start of the program, we had a baseline. At the middle of the program, we took a level of commercial measure, and then we did the same at the end. And what I can say, month on month on month, we were able to see growth in the desired areas, the desired KPIs. Um, and it wasn't just one-off growth. It was, you know, we saw it we started the program in March, we ended it in May, and we've seen growth in the KPIs month on month on month. So um, we were then able to benchmark that against national, and I'm really delighted to say the cohort outperformed national, and you know, we're able to add a significant amount to their invoices that they may or may not have been able to add had they not have partaken in the program.
I think that's so wonderful to hear just how quickly we're able to ramp up this program and how you use data to select who was involved. And I think something that the team at Yopa did really well was how deliberately you framed the program. There was an opportunity here for people to feel almost singled out, but the way that you ran the program made them feel selected instead. And I think that was some of the great work that your comms team did. And something that you touched on there that I think is really important was how you got the divisional franchise directors involved as well. So you actually got buy-in before the program actually ran. So do you want to talk to us a little bit about why that mattered so much and how you got that buy-in as well? Because that is so important, I think, for so many people.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, our divisional directors, it would be fair to say they're incredibly busy people. But they're definitely they're the bridge between the Yopa back office teams and sometimes the Yopa strategy to our field agents who are out there in the local communities. And, you know, it would be fair to say that the division directors probably have more influence over our agent network than anybody else. So, and our division directors are also responsible for delivering, the results in their divisions. So knowing that the program was something that could help them, first of all, was the right door opener for us because we were offering to help with division directors. But at the same point, we were asking for help too because the division directors were instrumental in selecting the right people, selling the benefits of the program. You know, they really really worked hand in hand with us, and to do that, we were able to do things like we had briefings with them. We had collateral produced for them, things like FAQs, briefing notes, objection handling, and we created a space in Thrive that was dedicated as the division manager space for them to go and access all of the resources to get the learners up and running, and more importantly, really excited. And then it wasn't a one-off with the division directors. There was division director interaction all the way through the program. So you'll see on screen there, we would have midway through the program, myself and my team would have three-way reviews with the division director and the participant to make sure that what we were doing from a learning perspective was translating well in the real world and into the results.
Yeah, that's great. I think what you did really well there was you positioned it really well with the agents, and then getting the divisional directors on board just made such a big difference in getting that buy-in,
Yeah.
even before they went through the 8-week program. And so you have everyone on board, and now you have to build the program. Tell us, Angela, what does the program look like? What did you do differently in this one?
So the program was blended, and it's almost what we're now calling our blueprint. It's what we've learned is the approach that works. So basically, for each participant, they would come on they would come on the program, and it worked in a cadence of you would have a workshop 1 week, the following week you would have a coaching session, a one-to-one coaching session. And on the back of the workshop, there would be a task or an activity that would need completed, and you knew that the participants knew they had to do it because they were coming into their one-to-one coaching session, a week later to debrief, and we were able to help keep them accountable. We were able to give them advice. We were able to give them feedback. We were able to steer them in the right direction. And we worked through that cadence for an 8-week period where we went workshop coaching, was performance review dotted through there. And it may sound very simple, but I think what we learned was that on a macro level, our workshop would let us deliver the content that was suitable for the entire cohort. But on a more individual level, when the participant came into the coaching session, they were able to then get exactly what they needed. So there was a definite, there was a definite win there for the agents.
Yeah, I remember you guys came into the workshop. You knew this was something that we wanted to do, and then by the next week we were building it out, and then you guys launched and were building it at the same time. So we went at some really great pace here, and something that we kept feeding back throughout this is how we can make this repeatable and how we can turn this pilot into something that, should we get the right metrics, this is something that we can improve and push out to the rest of the business. And speaking about the metrics, I think that's probably what everyone is dying to hear, all about the impact and the impact that it's had on Yopa. So tell us, Andrea, what has moved within those metrics and those commercials, and what have we seen?
So within those metrics, we have seen a significant increase in our conversion across our agents. And our conversion, to put it quite simply, is from the valuations that an agent attends, how much of those valuations actually converts to instruction and comes to market with Yopa. What I can say to you is the numbers have varied month on month, but it is a significant increase that we've had across those metrics. Even in the very first month, I mean, if I touch on some of those numbers, even in the very first month, we had like an average uplift of around 4% across the cohort versus the national group, and that was when the program had only just started. It only continued to improve month on month on month, and not just conversion. If we look at sheer volume of self-generated valuations increased significantly too, which is just fantastic for A, for Yopa's growth, and B, for our agents and their opportunity.
Yeah, and I remember this is quite different from anything that we've done before, because rather than focusing on engagement stats, rather than looking at who's logged in and access what, we actually focus and drill down onto the KPIs, as you said earlier, which was baseline at the start. So tell us, how did you bring the performance data and Thrive engagement data together? How did you pull that into one picture?
Well, do you know what? One of the little anecdotes that I really wanted to share, one of the funny things is working with other programs in the past, you get obsessive, right? You get obsessive about the views and the active users and the logins and how many people have accessed the content, and you're always checking it, right? With revenue enablement, because we were so performance focused, I have to be honest with you, initially, I did take my eye off the ball on some of the engagement metrics. But the great news was working hand in hand with the Thrive team, you've been able to help us develop some dashboards where we can side by side now see the engagement data alongside the performance data. But just going back to the little anecdote that I would share is that the interesting thing is I didn't ever have to check the engagement data for revenue enablement, but when I did look at it, it was there and there was no question over it. So I think, how would I wrap that up into a bit of advice? The advice that I would say with an enablement program is, as long as you have your spine that sits all the way through your program with your content that's accessible, it's in the right place, people can get to it, people can, find it, then the engagement happens alongside the performance conversations. Um, and I think that's the thing that really was the game changer for us. The engagement and performance have just, gone hand in hand.
Yeah, I love that. I think something else that maybe we should definitely bring up, because it is important to your people, is behind those numbers of increasing those performance, there's also an individual behind that. Is there a moment or an agent or maybe a story that has stuck with you behind driving these metrics forward?
Yeah, there actually is, and I really hope he doesn't mind me saying this because I actually hadn't planned on doing this, but there's one of our agents, Ben O'Neill. Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so Ben is one of our agents. And Ben and I went on a little bit of a journey with helping him with his social media aspect of his business. And I was really, really impressed that Ben took himself outside of his comfort zone by his own admission, like took himself outside of his comfort zone, made some changes, worked in a way that we looked at in terms of, galvanizing social media as a business tool. And he said to me in one of his coaching conversations, he said I would never have done this if it wasn't for the program, and that in itself was lovely, particularly seeing that Ben's actually getting some really strong positive business results on the back of it.
Yeah, and that makes such an impact, doesn't it, on their like personal lives as well, because of the work they do, because they are field agents, and it affects their invoice, which I think is something really great that you've been able to achieve as a part of this, moving away from even like the business
Yeah.
side of things. The individual is also really important. If you were to boil it down for us, what genuinely do you think drove the results? There's lots of pieces there working together. We've got comms, we've got platform and coaching. What do you think really made the difference this time?
Um, well, number one, our agents really, really embraced the program. So well done to all of them, because they gave up their time, they gave up their energy, and they jumped in feet first, and they did everything that we asked them to do. So I would have to say thank you to our agents. But the biggest game changer, I think, was the joined up approach. There wasn't like one hero trying to make it work. This was, you know, literally, I came out of the Thrive workshop that we had where we kicked this off in the February. And I think on the Monday, I went and socialised the whole idea with the SLT. On the Tuesday, we started building. On the Wednesday, we got the DFDs involved. It was you know, and we had the Thrive team in the background. It was, we all worked together and we all kept the same focus, which was uh, what needle is this going to move? And, you know, made sure that everything we did was aligned to driving that performance metric.
Yeah, and we used, so I think on Thrive, there was a lot of features that we were able to utilize that we hadn't before, like
Yeah.
spaces, and with the program, how we managed to loop that in with coaching and adding tasks there for evidence. So I think as well, that was something that I think you guys did really well and you moved at pace with.
Yeah, and I think, you know, as I look at the new mentoring feature and I think about how can we inject that into the blueprint going forward, that's something Verona and I have already spoke about as well. So I think that's the great thing, Charlotte. We, you know, I feel really confident that we've got a repeatable, you know, performance model as it stands. But as we continue to benefit from new features like mentoring and you know whatever else comes in the next 12 months, I think they will only just serve to enhance and improve what we're already doing and what we're already offering. So really look forward to any of the new things as always coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, nice. I was going to ask you what's next for learning at Yopa, but I think it's really clear. It's rolling this out on a bit more of a repeatable large scale, am I right?
Well, you know, cohort one is complete. The results are marvelous. So we are now in the space where, yeah, we're in the selection process for cohort two. So watch this space, and yeah, we'll definitely keep you updated.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm excited to get that rolled out with you as well. I guess as we're kind of like wrapping things up, what is a piece of advice that you would give to an L&D leader who wants to start shifting that from whether it's engage, whether it's vanity metrics or whether it is just logins into real return on investment within sales enablement? What advice would you give?
I think it's, you know, be really, really clear from the outset what outcomes you're trying to drive because it is so easy to get lost in the midst of, like you say, vanity metrics and everything else that you know you can select from the data. So first and foremost, be really clear about the outcomes that you want to drive. And then, you know, I guess following on from that is engage and excite and influence all of the stakeholders who have, you know, skin in the game because it takes a really joined up approach in my world or in my view to be able to move the needle on performance and it isn't a traditional L&D activity. It really is about changing your mindset from development to enablement and the tools and the metrics and the people around you that's really required to work together actually and pull that off.
Yeah, nice. How do you see this developing over the next year, I guess, at Yopa, as we start to roll out to more people? I know there's definitely talks of mentoring, but what do you see happening a year from now?
Well, it's funny you should ask that, Charlotte, because I have literally just put together the calendar for the rest of 2026. So, at least for the next 6 months, we are hoping to run a sprint of what we call the Revenue Enablement Program once a month. So, every single month, we will launch a new cohort into the cycle because the cycle you know, like I was saying earlier on the operating model, the cycle is the cycle. And now that we know how it works, we know how much time it takes, we know how much resources needed to bring it to life. So we therefore know how many people we can welcome into this sort of support program month in, month out for the rest of the year.
Yeah. I remember you saying as well that you were able to take those who were performing at 20%, which was considered slightly under, to those who were at 24, which was national average, and that happened in a matter of weeks. So I can only imagine the impact this will have on Yopa as we continue to push this out and enhance as we go along.
Yeah, I think the conversion metrics, they're definitely, yeah, they're there, and we will continue to yeah, smash those like month in month out. But I think as I say, we've got like a 4% increase in the first month, and that only continues to grow month in month out.
Yeah, perfect. I think that it's probably about time to start wrapping up. I've just got my eyes on the clock.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Angela. I think this has been brilliant to go over exactly what you've done, start to finish. And I think something really key here is drilling down on the KPIs and the metrics that you want to shift, and having the stakeholder management on your side and having Thrive to help you power that and put it all together. Is there anything that you kind of want to finish off on? Any last words that you would like to close with?
I think that the final words from me would be, it's really been a team effort to get to where we are. And I think one of the things that makes me feel incredibly proud is in an environment, as it is in present day, where every penny counts, and every pound must hit the bottom line. I think L&D is one of those functions that can often be viewed as a cost. And if any L&D leaders out there are feeling like that, I really hope that today's session has given you some food for thought to really turn that mindset of a cost around, because actually we're not just the cost of the business, or you don't have to be a cost of the business. You can really be a driver for success. For example, like I even know now in revenue, pound for pound, how much the program has added month in, month out, and I look at it and it's like, wow. Um, and hopefully our finance director looks at that too.
Yeah, that's great, Angela. And thank you so much for sharing with us so openly. And watch this space in terms of how we roll this out to everyone else. Now it's nice and repeatable and all in one place.
Lovely. Thanks, Charlotte.